Hi everyone, this is Mr. Vanderpool. Today we're going to be talking about the legislative branch of the federal government, also known as Congress. All right, Congress, of course, meets in the U.S. Capitol building. It is the legislative branch. It creates the law. So, the founders' intentions for Congress. They intended for Congress to be the strongest branch. They intended it to separate the lawmaking power from the executive. They did not want executives to make law. And they intended for there to be bicameralism that balanced large and small states. So there are two chambers in Congress. The House is more connected to the people because members of the House only have 2-year terms, so they're always preparing for re-election. So they're very responsive to people's opinions. The Senate allows for a little bit more independent thinking. The Senate's also known as the upper house because they have 6-year terms. They have a little bit more time to do things without the pressure of re-election. And one of the ways you can kind of tell that the Congress is meant to be the strongest branch is actually the Capitol building. If you visit Washington, D.C., it's absolutely huge. It's way bigger than the White House, which is kind of interesting. So let's look at some important differences between the House as well as the Senate. So the House is 435 members, 2-year terms, which means every 2 years, members of the House are up for re-election. To be a member of the House, you have to have been a citizen for 7 years. The House will initiate the impeachment process. Revenue bills will originate here. And there's very strict debate rules because you have a lot of people debating. The Senate has 100 members, 2 per state. It is a 6-year term. You have to be a citizen for at least 9 years. They actually try impeachment proceedings. They will approve presidential appointments, they approve treaties, and there's more loose debate rules because you have less people debating. Now, where do you find congressional powers? In Article 1, Section 8. Congress is given the power to lay and collect taxes, duties and imports, to borrow money, to regulate commerce, to establish rules for naturalization, to coin money, to create courts, to declare war, and to raise and support an army and navy. So a large percentage of the power given to the federal government is given to Congress. Now, over time, Congress's powers have evolved. Article 1, Section 8 talks about the expressed powers of Congress. And the Elastic Clause, of course, has created implied powers. So the Elastic Clause has extended congressional powers. Congress has the ability to oversee the budget. So they can restrict the federal budget prepared by the executive branch. So every year, the federal budget is prepared by the executive branch and needs to get approved by Congress. So they kind of oversee the budget. They do appropriations, so they set the amount of money made available for various activity in a fiscal year. So Congress has the ability to stop implementation of things that a president wants by not funding them. And Congress also has investigatory powers. So Congress can launch investigations, or historically you have Watergate, Clinton-Lewinsky hearings, steroids in baseball, etc. So let's talk about the leadership of the House of Representatives. So the most powerful person in the House is the Speaker of the House. The Majority Leader is right below them. The Majority Leader is going to be in the majority party, the party that controls the House. Then you have the Majority Whip, who will also be a part of the party that controls the House. So whips basically have a role of counting votes and encouraging people to vote a certain way. Now the minority party also has leaders. You have a minority leader and you have a minority whip as well. The Senate has leaders, of course. The president of the Senate is the vice president, but the president of the Senate normally is not there. The vice president's most formal role as the president of the Senate is to vote if there's a 50-50 tie. Generally, the Senate is going to be presided over by the president pro tempore. And the most powerful person in the Senate is going to be the majority leader. So the president pro tem is basically the presiding officer of the Senate. Generally, it's the longest serving member of the majority party. The most powerful person in the Senate is the majority leader, and then you'll have a majority whip as well. And the minority party is also going to have its leadership. You have a minority leader and you have a minority whip. So, the majority party controls the most significant leadership positions. In the House, the Speaker of the House is the most powerful position in the House. It allows for people, the Speaker of the House will allow people to speak on the floor. He or she assigns bills to committees. He or she influences which bills are brought to a vote. He or she appoints members of special and select committees. The Senate, the most powerful person, is going to be the majority leader. They schedule the Senate business and they prioritize bills as well. Now, as far as elections to the Senate and the House, House members are directly elected by the people in their district. Senators are directly elected after the 17th Amendment, and the House, especially the House, has an incumbent advantage. In the Senate, you have an incumbent advantage as well. Why? Name recognition, a proven track record, and franking privileges. They get to mail stuff with their signature. Free mailing, basically. So let's focus in a little bit here on the House and House districts. So if you look at, for example, Illinois, you can see Illinois is broken up into a bunch of different districts there. So the state is broken up into a bunch of different congressional districts. So a district is the geographic area a member of Congress represents. Now, representation. How are the members of Congress supposed to represent their people? One thing that's talked about is what's called malapportionment. So one problem that can exist in terms of this representation is malapportionment. So there can be unequal population in districts, and that was declared unconstitutional in Westbury versus Sanders. It found unequal district population was unconstitutional based on the 14th Amendment. So therefore, districts now must be equal, approximately equal, in population. You also have gerrymandering, which basically when you gerrymander, district boundaries are redrawn in strange ways to make it easy for a candidate of one party to win. Easley versus Cromartie, 2001, redistricting for political ideology was constitutional, and partially because it increases, according to the court, an increase in minority representatives. So, here's an example of a congressional district, Illinois' 4th. Couple things. Important to know that these districts are redistricted every 10 years based on data from the US Census. If you have weird-looking districts, that's often a sign of gerrymandering. There's a couple ways to gerrymander. One's called cracking, in which the majority party will kind of split up the minority party into various districts, so therefore there's not enough members of the minority party to win those districts. Or you have packing, in which basically you put all the members of a minority party into one district, and then you put the majority, members of the majority are put into other districts, but there's more districts that have the majority than the minority, so therefore the majority is able to stay in power. All right, we're going to move on to our next video here.